And welcome back to Blue Shirts Buzz, where we talk everything New York Rangers. I'm your host, Matt Piscazzi, with my co-host, John Horton. Definitely check out our Twitter at BlueBuzz26, and let's get right into it today. The JT Miller trade we've been talking about for a long time has finally happened. That's kind of the bulk of the episode here. Definitely some noteworthy news and other things that are going around the team. Couple, win here, loss here, first time scorer stuff, like plenty of stuff to talk about. But the body of the episode will be that JT Miller trade, thoughts, comments, concerns, all that fun stuff. Although I'm sure you guys probably know how we feel about it by now because we have talked about it previously. But it's finally here, so worth getting on here and analyzing what we gave up and what we're getting and what the future looks like for this team. But before we get into all that, how are you doing, good sir?
I'm doing a mixed bag here because, for weeks we said, almost a month, we said we didn't really want JT Miller back on this team because of all the problems. And, I kind of had a sinking feeling once those reports came through and how certain things fell through that it was just going to happen. And, Chytil got shipped out. A little sad to see. Just so many first-round draft picks that are just being dumped and being thrown away. The whole Kako discussion, how he has 15 points in 20 games for the Kraken, which I will say, out of those 15 points, there was a comparison. It was like 30 games with the Rangers and 20 games with the Kraken. I think it's a little bloated with like how, oh my God, Kako's playing so well. For the Rangers this season, 30 games played. 30 goals would be insane. So in the 30 games played, he played with us. He had 4 goals. In the 20 games played with the Kraken, how many goals do you think he has?
Like 5?
4. So it's mainly just stacking up assists here and there. He's not really driving his own goal scoring offense like we said he would. I really do think it's a new scenery. It's a new line mates for him. I think it's good, but he's not going to be, some people I see online are worried he's going to be like some 60, 70 point player. I just don't think that's him.
You got to take into consideration the time on ice. Right here, he's getting like a full 4 minutes of extra ice time.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the Kraken, they can give him that time. They're 7th in the Pacific. It's not like they're breaking down the door here, going to push for the cup. That's a team that has the opportunity to give him that kind of playing time. I mean, we've been over Kako a number of times. Like, we don't need to.
Yeah, we don't. I just saw that.
But
it
definitely
sparked a debate. So, but I will say, JT Miller in his first game with the Rangers, he made a statement. He scored 2 goals. I mean, we got absolutely demolished by the Bruins because Igor just kind of fell off, and the defense, most importantly, was horrendous. He's as of recording this episode, he's only played 2 games for us. So he has the 2 goals, so 2 points in 2 games.
He's got 2 goals.
Oh, sorry,
2 points in each game.
Sorry.
Yeah, 2 goals, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points in 2 games, which is
4 points in 2 games. Yeah, which is pretty good. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on that. And I thought it was funny that Filipino in his first game with the Canucks scored a goal. So that was kind of interesting.
It's like Oprah. You get a point. You get a point. You get a point. I mean,
yeah. So the whole trade was the Rangers got JT Miller, no cap retention, so it's about 7.8, close to $8 million a year for his contract to hit. And then we got 2 other players, one that got immediately sent down to I think they both got sent down to Hartford. I looked into them a little bit. One's a prospect, one's just an AHL level player that could be a decent defensive addition. I see Jordy's really trying to fix the defense. I just don't agree with his method of trying to find diamonds in the rough, like getting all these like bottom tier defensemen that, maybe we can give them a chance. I think, we're the New York Rangers. We need to really kind of get better defensemen.
He's made his focus, or he's made it clear that his focus is the offense, because I think the belief is like when you have Shesterkin backing you up, that if you can field you can almost field an elite level offense with like an average level defense and kind of rely on Igor to make those saves. But when Igor's not making those saves, it's also just a bad model. I mean, think about all the years we did that with Hank. Like, it only gets you so far, especially when our top guys consistently show inconsistency in the moments when they need to score and put up those points and like be that elite offensive presence. They're not. So that's an issue as well. Like, if you're going to bank on having that elite offense and like an okay defense, your offensive players need to consistently be elite. And obviously, we are here where we are because when they needed to perform, they were not able to. That being against the Panthers in the in the end last year. But
Yeah, the Rangers' core and offense in general is consistent at being inconsistent, and that is not good. That's something we need to change, something we need to fix.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we sent the Canucks. Filipino hurts a little bit, but we'll get into that.
Mhm.
Victor Mancini, which I was a little upset at first about, but then deep diving more of how he played, his statistics, and what he's done in the minors. He really is projected just a fifth, sixth defenseman.
Yeah.
He could be better. Not to knock on the guy. I mean, I'm sure he'll have a great career, but I think it was just the beginning of this season when he came in, he gave like a little spark, and then he came back down to earth and was playing kind of bad.
Yeah.
But and then which I wasn't happy about, but whatever. We had to give up our first round pick in the next year's draft, which pissed me off even more. They flipped and gave right to the Penguins. So now our division rivals
Yep.
have our first overall pick, and that
And
sucks.
that's the way the
So,
cookie crumbles.
yeah, so we will see. JT Miller is a good hockey player. He was a homegrown talent that we shipped out for reasons we got into, and we'll get into with this one.
Mhm.
Filipino was also homegrown. Um, we signed him to a 4-year deal. He's got 2 years left. He never really eclipsed. I think he got the closest he ever got to 50 points was 43, 45. He's a really energetic, great young guy. A little inconsistent offensively, and the biggest issue was, of course, his health, which is out of his control.
Yeah.
I mean, we can all agree. We're not doctors, but it's kind of obvious just with how bad his history is, and it is inspiring to see how he's been able to bounce back. But he is one like bad no look check away from maybe never
Yeah.
playing again, maybe being debilitated. And I think when Chris Drury signed that, it gave him that extension. He was still like a little bit of a fragile, health wise, but it wasn't as bad as we've seen the last 2 years since he was signed that contract. I
Yeah.
mean, those
Well, since
concussions
then he's
were
had
brutal.
what, another 2 or 3
Yeah,
of these big, like, concerning injuries on top of the 1 or 2 per. Like, they just started adding up, and it's just such a. The thing with him is like what could have been. It's really unfortunate because I really hope he has a great career. I really hope he flourishes. He has a ton of talent. It's really not hard to see that he can perform at both ends of the ice. He can be a really good all around player. But yeah, it's all about the health. You never know if you're going to be able to get that from him because if it's simple. Is he actually going to be on the ice when you need him to be on the ice? That's the issue that we've
yeah,
seen with him in the past couple of years, and it's sad. But I
yeah. Last year he
honestly
didn't
like.
even. He played like what 10 games, and then he was
Yeah,
out
and he
for the
was
whole
really
year.
good in the
Yeah,
beginning there. He looked like he had like all sorts of energy. Was making a lot of plays. Then he got hurt, and then came back in the playoffs. He's all right, whatever. But honestly, like when I look at this trade though, and what we gave up, what we got back, obviously we had outlaid previously that the issue with Miller was like the locker room stuff. Like there was a reason that he left his team or was shipped out to begin with. There's a reason that he didn't stay in Tampa longer. There's a reason that he was getting shipped out of Vancouver. So that's the real issue there is like the character of the locker room stuff. Like you knew you were going to get production from him. So in terms of the production we're getting back for what we gave up, it's honestly a pretty fair trade. I really think we came out on top when you consider like we were just saying, Phil's like 1 or 2 hits away from never playing hockey again. Mancini could be. I mean, I feel like his ceiling is like a mid 4D man. Like it's really, I don't think us as an organization really believe that he was going to be much more than a bottom 6D guy anyway, or bottom pair defenseman anyway. So if that's the thought, then it's I'm okay giving up those and a protected first for JT Miller. The thing is, we really have to kind of try and recoup some draft capital in the next couple of years here, and that's when it gets scary because the next couple of years we don't have a first rounder or a second rounder. And when you look at that, it's kind of hard to believe in the future of your franchise. I know it sounds crazy like to be talking about 4, 5, 6 years down the line, but that's something you have to be considering when you're GMing and you're managing a roster. Where is this roster going to be in 3, 4, 5 years? Because of the absence of first round picks, second round picks, third round picks, things like that we've had for the past few years because we've been mortgaging our future. So I feel like it's going to catch up with us at some point. But all in all, like I said, I think we got pretty good value when you consider the production we're getting back. I do look at this trade, I think, 2 ways. I think there's like the reaction right when the trade was made, and then there's kind of how I'm feeling now because honestly, they're different feelings, and I'm curious if you feel the same way. But just to give my like initial thoughts on that, like I said, the value I think is honestly, I think we got more value in terms of like production. I think that there's still some question marks about the locker room stuff. I'm not like thrilled at the move. I'm not overly excited about it. I don't think it's maybe the best move we could have made, whatever all that kind of stuff. Like I said, I'm not necessarily sold just now based on my like immediate reaction right when the trade happened. But like I said, I think there's two sides here. I do feel a little bit differently now after seeing him play a couple games, seeing guys respond. But before we get into that, I'm curious on your like immediate reaction. I mean, I know we talked about this a lot, so I think I know where you're at. But when you saw what we gave up versus what we got back, did you think it was a fair deal? Were you surprised, angry, indifferent? What was that like immediate gut reaction?
Yeah, so immediate was kind of like not a scoff, but just kind of like a just like kind of like a "Are you kidding me?" type thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
like because at first all I saw was that we traded for him, and I was like, okay, all right. And then I saw the details. You know, we already said what we said about Chytil. I'll miss him, but
Mm-hmm.
JT Miller is 100% upgrade from Philip Chytil.
Yeah.
But he also costs twice as much. And giving up the first sucks. I think one of the other reasons why we did that was because we don't have any seconds left because we keep trading them all the time. And,
Yep.
to your point, mortgaging the future stuff and just with how bad the Rangers have been drafting the last 10 years overall, like we need to stop trying to make this the retirement home, the free agency home. Like we need to build a culture. We need to build a team.
Mhm.
And, the hope is Lafreniere could be like that. Keandre Miller, Braden Schneider, all these other players. That is the hope. I would like to throw Adam Fox in there, but we did not draft him.
Yeah.
And
Well, he
Igor
did kind of
Shesterkin we
force his way
drafted.
to us, though. I mean,
Yeah, he
he
did.
he wanted
He
us
did.
to draft him. Like I do
He did.
appreciate that much from him, but
Me too. So yeah, immediate was kind of like, because we're not like, we're not going to make it far in the playoffs, even if we do make it. We just still have so many problems, and that's evident with the first game we got JT Miller where he didn't even practice with the team and he scored 2 goals and the rest of our team was just like did not care and we got completely demolished and Igor looked horrible and the defense looked horrible. Ryan Lindgren, which I would love to get into, just how horrible he's been and how we just
Yep.
need to move on from him. It sucks. Like I always say, I went to bat for him this offseason and he like spit in my face and everybody else. But
He's really let
um,
us down. Yeah.
yeah, big time. So yeah, my thought is I look at it as Chris Drury got JT Miller as an upgrade or a replacement, not an upgrade, a replacement for Mika Zibanejad. They're
Mhm.
both centers, roughly the same age. JT Miller isn't falling off a cliff production wise like Mika's been.
Yep.
We'll get into the lineup. Mika has been moved away from center and moved to right wing just because, I mean, God forbid. Like, and I saw Mika hit a record, a personal record of 900 games in the NHL. That's when it sinks in a little more. I'm like, maybe that's why he's starting to kind of play bad. 900 games is a lot. That is a
True.
ton of hockey games, and he's rarely been injured. It just sucks. I don't think he's ever going to be that player that he was paid to be anymore.
Mhm.
And I hope this offseason we do everything in our power to try and move him because I think JT Miller is the replacement for him.
Yeah.
So we would have Trocheck as a center, which he's a great center, and he's best friends with JT Miller, so best buddies. And Chris Drury said he talked to Vincent Trocheck about this before the trade, which is interesting. And then JT Miller would be our second or our first center. Trocheck would be our second. So we still need a third line center. Fourth is just like Edstrom or whoever's going to take his place when he's not here.
Mhm.
So I think it makes us better at the end of the day. If you want to like put it
Yeah.
at a
Yeah.
net better or worse, we're better. It's just like the job's not done. I
Yep.
want Mika Zibanejad off this team. I want an upgrade. I know JT Miller is the upgrade, but we need to move. We need to get more on top of that. And I absolutely love Chris Kreider. I want him to be here forever, but he's still
Mhm.
struggling to score. He looks bad. His contract's easier to move. And if I'm, I just feel like Chris Drury is going to do something. I don't know. It's just at least the cap's going up a lot. The projection is
True.
pretty high.
Yeah.
Thank
That
God.
helps us.
Yeah, it helps
Certainly
us
doesn't hurt,
tremendously.
right? Yeah.
And it's interesting because it wouldn't happen, but I just thought it was funny. Like the Canucks are collapsing after how crazy they were.
Mm.
You see now that Miller was moved. A bunch of the team is upset. Brock Besser posted stuff online about how how he was upset. Kind of like showed like because he needs to be signed. He needs a
Yep.
contract after the season.
Yep.
And now 2 games in a row. Quinn Hughes has been a healthy scratch. He has not played,
which is just
and
bizarre. I mean, how do you
it's
scratch
bizarre.
the best,
But I
one of the
think
probably the top 3 or 4 guys in the whole entire league? I mean,
no,
you
yeah,
just
but I think the reason is I was watching the hockey guy, great YouTube channel,
mm,
great commentator for the NHL. He's a Vancouver Canucks fan. He predicted, he was like, Quinn Hughes needs a contract, like, and he's going to get a big one. And he's the
yeah,
best defenseman that the Canucks have ever seen. And he was like, if JT Miller or Elias Pettersson get moved, that's going to signal to Quinn Hughes that I shouldn't play here in my prime. And what do you know? As soon as JT Miller's traded, now he's being a healthy scratch, which could be trade related. He could say like, I want to get out of
dude,
here.
how
Like,
wild. I mean, it's not when you break it down that way, it's valid and it's honestly it's rational. Like then it kind of paints this picture where the Canucks are in the situation where they're looking at dumping those guys being the Quinn Hughes, the Elias Pettersson, some of those mid-roster kind of pieces for young talent for first-round picks, and going into a rebuild state. Like obviously you don't want to go into a rebuild state, especially considering that they were really good the past couple
yeah.
years,
And,
especially
and
last year. But then you
Pedersen's
see that
making,
drop off, like
yeah, and Pedersen's making 11 million a year. He's
yeah,
making 11 million a year.
send him to a team that's going to win right now, get a couple picks, get some prospects, kind of restart the rebuild that we've seen the Canucks
Yeah.
been struggling with for years
And
here.
and
But
as soon as Pedersen signed that contract, he started playing like
yep,
crap. And people pointed out when Miller was not in the lineup, Pedersen played better. And then when Miller was in, he played
played
worse.
worse. Yeah, I remember
They
seeing
don't
that.
like each other. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I do need to get into sponsors today.
I was just gonna say before I roll, because I like how you kind of set. You did a good job too, segueing us into some of the after the trade type stuff. What the
Yeah.
future looks like. I'll get into the lineup and all that stuff once you get us a lovely word from our sponsor on DraftKings.
DraftKings once again. We are talking about the Super Bowl. Best matchup I've ever seen. Never seen it before. Very excited.
Woo!
Can't wait to see what
Super
happens.
original.
Can't wait. Yeah, super original. But if you are a fan or not a fan of the teams, you can still get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 59. It's crazy we're at 59 already. Scoring touchdowns is key to hosting the Vince Lombardi Trophy, and you have a shot to score big by betting on them at DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet touchdowns. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly by picking up your phone, going to the App Store, Google Play Store, whatever it may be, and downloading the DraftKings Sportsbook app and using the code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Please and thank you. And
Yes,
segue
sir.
into you now, Matt, and what you're going to tell us.
Yeah, so I think I'll start off here just to go over the lineup real quick so everybody has an idea of if you haven't seen since we've gotten JT Miller, what this team is looking like right now. First line, we do have Panarin on the left, Miller at center, and Mika on the right wing. That is obviously the big change there. Second line, we do have Riley Smith playing with Lafreniere, and they are centered by Tro. Third line, we have Brodzinski centering Christopher Kreider and Will Cooley. And the fourth line, of course, has been pretty static here, a couple moving pieces. But with Edstrom out, we do have Sam Carrick centering Rempe and Jimmy Vesey. Nice to see Vesey back in the lineup. I'm glad about that. I hope that we don't push another guy out of here. Not that he's someone that's overly important to the makeup of this team, but he's a good heart and soul guy, locker room guy. I like that we had brought him up. He left. We got him back. All that good stuff. Like, it's a good story. Can we maybe not, let that be some sour grapes and sour
Yeah.
apples here too as well.
Yeah.
Power play one also looks a little bit different. Trocheck has been replaced by JT Miller. So now it is going to be Foxy, Panarin, JT Miller, Mika, and Krides. So
Get Mika
I
out
highlight,
of there.
well, let's say I highlighted all that because to kind of get into the impact that this move has on the team and the future of this team. So honestly, that first, like you had pointed out, that first game against the Bruins, he played really well. I mean, scored 2 goals for us, but we still end up losing the game 6-3. Some serious defensive lapses, some serious problems in front of Igor, and Igor was not sharp either. But then I watched a lot of this game against the Knights. It was the first game in a long time I got to really sit down and get excited about. I was definitely nervous. I didn't know what I was gonna, what I was in for, but it was a really, really good game. And honestly, I was actually really impressed with how the team kind of responded and played. We seem to be playing a lot more physical. I don't want to say that this is all on JT Miller for coming in here and setting the tone. I think he certainly had an impact, but there was an edge to us. There was a speed to our game. There was motivation. There was effort. There was drive. And JT Miller is not afraid to make a physical play. I do have to say, I forgot like how I really, because I don't really watch him, right? Like we haven't had, he hasn't played for us for 6 years. So we kind of forgot what we gave up versus the player he's turned into now and what we were getting. And he fights really hard. He plays physical. He's always hard on the hands, but then he also makes those big plays. He makes those accurate passes. Those kind of quick decisions, those snappers. Like the skill is very evident, but the physical play is there as well. And so it's actually been I think it's been rubbing off on the guys a little bit. I mean, it's only been 2 games. This is why I was saying there was kind of my feelings like immediately after the trade and how I feel now. It looks like it might be rubbing off on the guys a little bit. It looks like this move might have kind of given us a little bit of juice here. I don't want to be fully sold and say, "Oh, this is the best decision ever. JT Miller's a god." Like, no, there's still a lot to be seen. But I'm always trying to be the hopeful guy. And just what I saw in that Knights game in particular, I definitely saw some signs, and I saw some signs of life and some hope and some energy in this team that we haven't seen consistently. I think that Jonathan Quick had a lot to do with that as well. Obviously, we finally got that 400 win for him, which is amazing. He is incredibly deserving of that stat there. I mean, one of the best American-born goalies and goalies that the NHL has seen. Period. So really nice to have him towards the end, the twilight years of his career here, backing us up. He did grow up a Rangers fan as well, so it's a nice story there. And I, like I said, I think that had to do with some of the energy as well. But I want to believe in this team, and I want to believe in the future of this team. I think that no matter what happens in the playoffs this year, if we even make it, this move is really about the future and what's to come now that we have brought Miller in here. I like that you pointed out that's kind of an upgrade on Mika because, quite frankly, this offseason, Mika's probably going to get moved. The reality of the situation is that there are probably going to be some conversations between management and Mika that are, the end goal being we are moving you, possibly moving Kreider as well. Whatever those moves end up looking like, however that ends up shaking out, is obviously months away. We have no idea what that's going to look like. But the way this trade went down, us still having Miller for a couple of years here, it's not like his contract's over next year. We still have him. I believe it's 3 years, including the rest of the year, I think.
JT Miller?
Yeah.
No, it's like as long as Mika's. It's long.
Supposed to be even longer. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, at this point in the way that their career trajectory paths are going, though, wouldn't you rather have Miller for that amount of time than Mika?
I would. There was a time where I
Yeah,
would
that's
be
the
like,
thing.
"No
Like,
way, you're crazy." But
yeah,
then,
and that's the craziest part. That's why I feel
yeah.
weird feeling much more positively about this trade now that it's happened and we've had a little bit of time to digest it, versus the things we were saying and the way that we felt before this trade happened. But again, the production is going to be there. The skill is there. The talent is there. Hopefully, it's good vibes. It's good energy. I mean, him and Trocheck were best friends growing up. They're living together. We're seeing the posts on social media. It seems like there's a positive energy going on in the locker room right now. And if it can impact Tro and Miller and they can spread that energy and spread those good vibes, then this could end up being a really positive move for the franchise for the rest of the year here and going into the future. Again, I don't want to act like it's all sunshine and roses. We're still not even in the playoff picture right now. I think we're like 4 or 5 points out still. I don't have the standings up right in front of me, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
it's
forgot to do that.
so it's the hopeful side. This is where I'm trying to be that positive energy and just believe that this is going to work for us moving forward. Also, it's more fun to watch when you have guys like that with the talent and skill, the energy, the motivation. Like it makes it a little bit easier on the eyes. So at the very least, if they could keep bringing that energy night in and night out and make the hockey that we're watching enjoyable, that would be really nice. You don't need to win every game. You don't need to win a Stanley Cup, especially where this team is at right now. I think that's a little bit of kind of a foregone conclusion that last year was probably our best shot that we're going to have for a little bit here. But
Yeah.
if they could at least give us like things to hold on to, give us things that you can look forward and say like down the line that's going to matter, in a couple months, in a year, in 2 years, like things you can look forward to, things to hold on to, and hope. Really, that's what it's about. So trying to just be more hopeful about this team right now, and I think
Yeah.
that the way Miller's looked so far, it's definitely made it easy to be a little bit more positive. But again, only been a little bit here, so there's still a lot to see. Just kind of like, I guess, cautiously optimistic at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's still a lot to see with his drama history, what happens with there. Maybe he finally learned his lesson, cleans it up. I mean, he's getting paid,
Mm.
he's in a new area. Um, yeah, I know he waived like a no trade, no move clause to come to the Rangers. I don't know if that reapplies now that he's here. Not really sure how that works, but maybe.
Does. I feel like because it's built into his contract, is it
Yeah,
not?
so I feel like it probably will. But
Wonder if
yeah,
it.
hope,
Yeah,
hope, the big H.
the big.
Um, that is what I do like, especially building towards. Yeah, we still have so much left of this season, but I just think it's realistic to think of next year as a better playoff chance. Like
Mhm.
everything we can rebuild on the off season and get new pieces in here, figure things out. Hopefully, if we end this season, if we end this season and start next season with the same roster we have today as of recording this,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be excited.
No.
I'm not going to be happy because
And just a note on his no move clause because I did. It is still in his contract there. So this year and next year, it's a full no move clause. 27, 28, it turns into a 15 team modified no trade clause, and that carries to the end of his contract, which is ending in 2030. So
yeah,
he is
that's
in
what I
his
thought.
year 2 of a 7-year contract. So wow, I was way off.
Yeah,
But
I figured it was a long time, but
yeah, but the thing about that is if we retain him for all 5 years there at 8 mil and he performs at the level that he's performing and the locker room gels and the energy's there,
yep,
you
yep.
know, it
But we have to move Mika's 8.5.
that's the thing. Yeah,
That's the thing.
that's probably going to be the big move in this coming off season,
'Cause
like you were
if
saying.
not, then that's like 16, $17 million and two guys, one of them sucking.
Throw another 6 mil on top of that for Tro. That's about 22, 23 mil
Yep,
for your the spine of your team. I mean, that's a lot to spend on 3 guys.
yep. No, I agree. But yeah, I forgot to do this in the beginning of every episode just because of the big news. But yeah,
Yeah.
the standings for the Rangers, they are 52 games in, 25 wins, 23 losses, 4 overtime losses, 54 points. So technically still a negative record. I always like to point that out, even though
Yeah.
yes, an overtime win gives the loss gives you a point. They are 21st in the league, which sucks. It's horrible.
Yep.
They are 12th in the Eastern Division, which isn't horrendous, but now the Islanders are above us, so that's not good. But they wanted a big winning streak.
Well, they finally lost
Um,
though. I think it was last night. They
yes,
ended the Panthers ended their 7-game win streak.
and Matt Barzal's out for the rest of the season. They are 6th in the wild card spot. I just don't know how we're going to beat out. We could beat out the Islanders, but I don't know how we're going to beat out Boston and Tampa Bay and Columbus.
True. Now that
And
these other
then
teams are in the mix, like
yeah,
there's
there's no way.
literally. I mean, and we talk about this every year, just how tough this part of the East is. But like, when this
Yeah.
is nuts, dude. The fact that we're the Canadians, the Flyers, and the Penguins are technically still in it too, because they're only 1 or 2 points
Yep.
behind us. We're 5 points behind that second wildcard spot. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams within 7 points of each other
Mhm.
going for 2 wildcard spots.
Mhm.
So not definitely not easy for us.
No. And in the Metro, we are 6th. Only better than the Flyers and the Penguins. So,
And not by much.
not by much. So, I think what Drury is trying to do makes a lot of sense. And I think it's unfortunately just going to have to build towards next season. We'll see what happens at the trade deadline.
Mhm.
The break's
Still have a
coming
month,
up.
yeah.
Yeah, break's coming up. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Depending on what he does at the trade deadline will determine us what his thought process is. Like if he goes all out crazy with like
Mhm.
rentals, then we know he's not building for next year or the year after. He's building for this year. But
Yeah.
if he's a little more conservative, but we do make a trade and maybe it's just kind of like dump some player, then maybe it signals he's like, okay, this year's a wash, which I think most people can
Mhm.
understand. I mean, the amount of self-inflicting damage this team did to itself after Trouba was traded, that like 20 game stretch where
Yep.
we won like maybe 3 games, like it's almost impossible to climb out of a hole like that. Like this locker room pissed me off, and it pissed off I think a lot of Rangers fans just with how
Yep.
pathetic it was and how it imploded on itself, how nobody gave a crap to play hockey, how the younger players didn't step up at that time besides Will
Mhm.
Cooley, and it's just like the whole team just falling to shreds. It was really upsetting. It was really BS, honestly. And now only now are people's egos being stroked a little bit, and people are like, "Oh, that's right, I get paid millions of dollars to play hockey. Let me play for this team." Are they trying
Yeah,
to turn
right.
it
Let me
around
show
when
up,
it's
like
yeah, when it's like a little too late? And I think if JT Miller plays the rest of the season with us, which why wouldn't he? But Always got to preface that. And then we have a whole off season with him, including whoever we add. I think we're looking pretty good. I think maybe we try and get Brock Besser. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want to stay in Vancouver, and we can get him here. We could get another stud defenseman. Like, we're going to have a pretty decent amount of cap space. We need to move Ryan Lindgren. We need to move Mika. I don't want to clear the $6 million, 6 and change for Chris Kreider, but I don't know. We'll see about that.
Yeah.
I think it's better to give Keandre Miller. Now there's 2 Millers now, so we have to specify. Keandre
Yeah, I was
Miller.
thinking that actually because I have Keandre Miller written down on my first time
Yeah.
scorers from last week.
Yeah, so I think we should give him another year or two to prove himself. I don't think we should just let him walk. I think we should try and trade Ryan Lindgren and get some kind of draft capital, maybe like I don't know, like a 4th round pick or something. Who knows? But
Sure.
I think Drury needs to stop with this diamond in the rough. Like, here's our 5th line defenseman that we played for 20 games in a season. Like, see what you can do with him. I think we need to get like an actual goddamn defenseman. Like, it can't just be Adam Fox and then our young players who sometimes play defense and sometimes don't. Like, we need to get a good damn defenseman. Will Borgen at least seems like he could be that guy. That's why we signed him. I do think it was a little quick to sign him. I do agree with it, but
I'm happy with it though. I
he
mean,
could have waited.
he made
He
an
could have
instant
waited till
impact.
the end of the season.
He made an instant impact though.
Yeah, he
So,
did.
and so I think you want to try and get that deal done before he makes that price go up, and you know what I mean. And then when his price goes up, Keandre Miller's price goes up because they're playing on a pair together at this point. So that's something too that I think honestly was a smart decision. Also, just because he's looked really lively, like him and also him and Miller have played pretty well together. That pair's actually been
recently
stabilizing. I would say Miller's definitely stabilized a little bit. That is.
Yeah, he has.
Although he made a really, really bad play on that power play goal by Jack Eichel. I'm like, bro.
I think if you're Dre, you sit down with him and his agent, and you say, "Listen, we drafted you. We really love you on this team, but you haven't given us enough to work with to give you a comfortable extension." And then slide the paper across the table. Say, "Here's what we're offering you. It's a 1 year or maybe a 2 year bridge. You really need to prove this offseason that you're going to put in the work." And the tough part is a lot of his issues are mental, which is crazy. Like, he just makes dumb mistakes.
The ability is there. I mean, the physical ability, like the length, the way that he positions his body. Like, I feel like he's so long and athletic that like he makes up for a lot of his own mistakes by making incredible defensive plays on the other end, just because he's so long. Like he has the speed, he has the athleticism. I mean, he is a genuinely good athlete. So if he can stabilize the mental game, then the sky's the limit for this guy.
Yes, your body has to process at a high level, and so does your mind. And I think that's what Drury should do. I think we should trade Lindgren. And then I think we should figure out a little more of the offense. Again, I think Brock Besser, maybe try and sign him. That'd be sick, unless Vancouver does something crazy and gets him to sign. But, it's good for the offseason to repair things. So that way free agents will be more inclined to come to this team. And the one saving grace we always have as the New York Rangers in this franchise is it's Madison Square Garden, it's New York City, it's in the top 3 most expensive and
the tickets
profitable franchise. Like, players, you see all these beat reporters and stuff like, the way Chris Drury is handling this, like, players aren't going to want to come to New York. There's some truth to that, maybe some truth, but I think Drury knows and the front office knows that, like, that alluring factor just, like, will always be in effect. I mean, there's tons of interviews with Wayne Gretzky, one of the greatest hockey, if not the greatest hockey player of all time, saying, like, his favorite place to play was MSG. Like, and that was back in the 90s. So what do you think it is now? So
yeah, right. Pretty big difference.
Yeah. Not that we should use it as a crutch and just treat everyone like crap, but I think
because that stuff still catches up with you as an organization at some point. Like,
it does, at some point. But I think the franchise has a reputation of, like, you need to perform or else you're not staying. Like, we're not going to coddle you. But I do think we need to build a culture. I like Peter Laviolette, but I think we need to find our guy, which is kind of what every team has to do, really. But I think we really need to do it, especially with a lot of young pieces. We need to stop selling our draft capital, for the love of God. And I think, I'm hopeful for the rest of this year. I'm excited, but again, looking at the numbers, looking at how we play, I just don't think it's likely we make the playoffs. If we do, I'm right there with you on the couch, cheering, excited. But
Mm.
I think it's time to look over the next 1 to 3 years of like how can we
Mhm.
turn things around after shipping off players and figuring out. But that's my piece for this episode. That's my piece
Yeah.
of what I'm thinking.
And very well put. And I think I'll just real quick get my thoughts on just like the rest of the year here in terms of like trade deadline stuff. I mean, my feeling is I think the best approach, and I'm really hoping this is Drew's approach, is if you're going to make any moves, just make conservative, low risk moves. You can move this vet for this met, move this
Mhm.
prospect for this prospect. Maybe you throw a mid tier prospect and a mid tier draft pick for a mid tier vet. Like nothing crazy. We don't need to make some move like we did a few years ago where we get Kane or we get Tarasenko, we get Cop, we get the Toronto. It's then you're giving up picks, you're giving up prospects, and look where it gets you 2, 3, 4 years down the line. We don't need to be mortgaging our future for this year. Like you said, this is, and like I think the running thought is that this is not the end all be all year. With that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw one or two of these kind of moderate and conservative moves, suggesting that we still want to be competitive. We still want to make a push. We're, only 5 points out of the wild card race with all those teams there. The way we've been inconsistent, like only 30 games left in the year, it doesn't look overly likely, but the possibility is there. And so I really feel that that's kind of the right move, and that's hopefully the move that Dre makes is just to make those kind of lighter, low risk moves. When with like you were saying, with the future being kind of what's really in the back of his mind. If we want to be a little bit more competitive, make one or two moves to try and make that push here this year. This year, hey, that looks great. That sounds awesome as long as we're not giving up too much, because ultimately this off season is really going to be where he's got to hit the grindstone. He's got to get the pen and paper out, start figuring these things out, pros, cons, who's going here, who we're getting from here, what free agents are we going after, how are we trying to go about moving this guy, moving that guy. That's really where the money's going to be made in terms of the future of this team. Quite frankly, I think that this offseason is going to be incredibly important for the next 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 to 10 years of this organization in terms of who's staying, who's going, and what capital is going to be here when all the dust settles, in terms of prospects, draft picks, things like that, young guys that you can kind of look forward to building the organization around. Um, I think real quick before we hop out of this one, because I think we've kind of set our piece, got all sorts of good stuff here. We did predict the first time scorers for the next Bruins game, which will be the night this episode's coming out, I believe, and then the Pens game, which is Friday, the end of the week here. So I mean, we could just predict the Blue Jackets game first time score, because then after that there is the 2 week break for the Four Nations face off. So might
Oh
be worth,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And we none of us got anybody the last 2 games, right? Since we
No, I looked into it.
Yeah, I didn't
So
think so. I
let's
didn't think
see. In
so.
this, no. So in the loss to the Bruins, it was JT Miller scored first, and when we had made our predictions, we didn't even know that. Like, it was before the trade and everything, so
Yeah,
we had no
yeah.
chance on that one. And then in the Knights game, let's see. I had Crides, you had Panarin, and Laugh was the first score off of that sick feed from Fox. Oh my god, that was a
Yeah.
gorgeous rush up the ice. That was a beautiful play.
Panarin's gotta come back to us. Come back to us. But yeah,
What, you think he's scoring first in that Blue Jackets game before the break, or what?
his old stomping grounds. I'm gonna go
Right,
JT
right.
Miller. I'm gonna go with JT
Okay,
Miller for
all
a
right.
little bit of fun.
Fair
Probably
enough.
gonna be
Let's
totally
see.
wrong with that, but
Okay, you got JT Miller scoring first in that game, and then you know what? But Aaron, worth it, right?
okay. All
Yep.
right.
So let's see, Bruins game we got coming up. I had predicted Keandre Miller being the first time scorer.
Ah,
That's why I was looking at that earlier. I was like, how do I know? No, it was the other Miller. You got Tro, and then in the Pens game you got Foxy. I got Mika, and in the Blue Jackets game before the break you got JT Miller, and I do have Panarin. So that'll be fun to see
all right.
what that looks like. Maybe we'll be coming back in next episode here with a change to the scoreline. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I'm about ready to close this out here. I think we kind of touched on everything that we wanted to here. Some plenty of stuff to talk about today. So definitely a lot more positivity. This is nice. I'll take this over the way this team looked, 20, 30 games ago, and the way we were trending. Um, Not the NLBL again. Like, not that this is like, I'm not like, oh yes, yes, this team's great. JT Miller's a savior. Like, no, there's still a lot to be seen. Just hope. Like we were saying, there's hope, there's life, there's energy there, and hopefully that can be stuff that these guys can hold on to. This locker room can rally around and give us some good hockey to watch. So, final thoughts? Are you good if I start closing this out here?
Yeah, no, I'm all good.
Oh,
I think I said what I need to, so yeah.
absolutely. All right. Well,
So
then I'll start rolling us out of this one. thank you all for the love and support, checking us out on another episode here. Plenty of good stuff to cover. Like I said, we'll be here covering it all. Whether there's new moves coming, we do have a month till the trade deadline here, so we could still see some more moves. Who knows what that looks like? Again, we really hope that the off season is where we make those big moves, but we'll see. We'll see what happens, and we'll be here to react, respond, analyze, give you guys all our thoughts, opinions, everything like that. But as always, we are so grateful to all you guys. Thank you so much for the love and support, checking us out on another one here. Get another great episode in the books here. So that is the last you'll hear me on this one, and I'll shoot over John to send us out.
Thank you, everybody. All love and support as always. Check us out every single week. All the socials. I won't repeat everything that Matt said because he said it perfectly. Get hopeful, get excited, get optimistic, and we will catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Rangers.